What's up, everybody? Thralls of Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
I'm Jammin.
And we have yet another album review for you, and one that I've been wanting to go over just because, full disclosure here, I have never actually sat down and jammed this band, and I've been kind of meaning to. Like, it's just one of those bands that I hear brought up by their fans with, like, great adoration. Like, oh my god, this band's unreal. And I think I kind of get it now. So we're going to go over the latest offering from Malignancy, Discontinued. This also comes on the 14th of June on Willowtip Records. This band formed in 1992 in Yonkers, New York. This is their fifth full-length album. I guess, like, in between releases, there's a lot of time off, I guess. And again, admittedly, I haven't jammed this, though I have definitely jammed bands that are very similar.
Yep.
So I feel like this is kind of like long overdue here. And for those that don't know, this is technical, brutal death metal, and yeah, I would say like kind of like underground legends of it.
Yeah, I notably have never jammed this band either, but I've heard them talked about a whole lot by fans, friends, people we know. Like, they just keep saying, check out Malignancy, and I mean, I'm a fan of technical death metal, so it makes sense. But as far as them being from Yonkers, it might as well be from Bonkers, New York, because this band is bonkers.
Yeah, this is some absolutely insane stuff. Now, while I don't really know the focal members of this band, I do know their drummer, Mike Heller, who has been in so many bands that I could not possibly list them. But this album in particular, I believe, also features Jacob Schmidt of Defeated Sanity, which falls right in line with what this album does. This is honestly some of the most technical, brutal stuff I have heard in a while. Like, right up there with early Cryptopsy, Blasphemy Made Flesh, None So Vile. I would even say, like, Gorguts from Wisdom to Hate.
Yeah.
This is fast, ridiculous. The transitions come at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour. The riffing is just nuts.
Otherworldly. I'm pretty sure that every single musical instrument in this band has filed assault and battery charges against the players. It's just insane. And there's no real way to fully describe how insane it is unless you like the bands that we've mentioned already that it sounds like. First of all, the vocalist, I don't know, sounds a lot like Ross Dolan. And
really
when I
does.
say a lot, like, it sounds like Ross Dolan. In fact, the more that this record went on, the more I was reminded of Immolation, and it could be just due to that vocal inflection. Like,
I mean, Ross is from Yonkers too. Maybe they went to the same vocal coach. I'm sure they hung out. But it's also Ross Dolan-ish in the sense that the vocals kind of have their own cadence. Like, that's one of the things I love about Immolation in general is his cadences are unique and they kind of follow their own meter, and these cadences definitely follow their own meter too, but there's like 8 billion meters going on at the same time. And I would say at the core of it is Mike Heller with an absolutely bonkers drum performance.
yeah, man. I call it like maybe hyper-blasting paradiddles or hyper-blasting rudiments. I'm not sure, because as much as this music transitions, which is quite frequently, he somehow finds a way to accent it all and blast through it all at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I need like a pie chart or a graph or something, click tracks maybe, just to even get a grasp on this. It's so sporadic and disjointed that it makes it even hard to notate.
I feel like I crammed for like 8 exams.
Yeah, like
it's nuts. Like, if you were trying to pick out every nuance that he was doing, it'd be bonkers. Like, there's like some jazz fusion moments. I know that he does slow it down and do some like more straightforward breakdowns. You get a little bit of that on Purity of Purpose and Ancillary Biorhythms. I mean, the song titles are just as confusing as the music sometimes.
Fair.
But I mean, there's so much going on and it's happening lightning quick. Like, these songs aren't necessarily that long. Like, I think the longest song in here is maybe 4.5 minutes. But the rest of them are very condensed into like, a 4 to 3 minute realm. And they explore pretty much everything they can at light speed within that. Maybe except for like, super melodic sections, because this is brutal death metal. They do not skimp on the brutality. Melody was not invited.
I mean, it is, but it's not melody. Like, they're hitting notes, obviously, that would create melody per se. I don't know, I got reminded more of the red chord as far as riff construction was concerned in a lot of these, because there's a lot of like squealies and bendies. Like on the neck, it would just be a constant slide back and forth. Like it's just, I don't even know how to describe it. I wrote bonkers and wild and insane like 90 times in this review.
Yeah.
That's what I can say, like a shit fit of ADD technicality.
And everything is recorded really well here, too. Like, I think the production's awesome in here, and it kind of needs me, if you're to pick up on all of the nuance, if you can keep up with the album. Like, this has got, like, you know, a little bit over a half an hour runtime, and it crams every conceivable note in that little bit over a half an hour runtime that it possibly can. It's almost like a stream of consciousness, or in terms of just how brutal and savage and ugly this is, like a series of interlocking musical nightmares. Like, this thing is just flat out vicious. There isn't a moment on here where I feel like they held back anything. And again, the razor sharp transitions that are on here, especially in terms of like the drum patterns, like this performance is very flow-ish. Like it screams flow from Cryptopsy. But there are like some like interesting surprises that show up. Like, you know, after getting just inundated by insane riff after insane riff and just blast beat patterns that you can't even calculate the time signature because there's too many numbers. There's just too many numbers, and it'd be confusing. It'd be like a trigonometry problem.
Yeah, like I'm not good at math. I'm going to be honest. When I run out of fingers and toes to count, that's it. And in the first 13 seconds of this album, I ran out of fingers and toes. There are an insane amount of beats per minute going on here. A lot of it's off time, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like it, but like to be honest, I'm not sure where the riff really started and where it ended. So
that's kind of the thing. Like, in terms of like the rhythms and such, I feel like, again, there are multiple meters here. Like, there are moments in here where you get like slow, chuggy riffs with, of course, like squealy accents over insane blast beats that have like turnovers that are worked into the beat itself. Like, it's not just a fill, like, oh no, that's part of the beat. But then you also have moments where they kind of break it down and get like to a groovier pocket, albeit for a few seconds, and then leave and go into something just absolutely nutty after that. Oppositional Defiance is, I mean, much like a lot of these tracks, just a blur of insanely just wild riffs and crazy drums. But there's a section on there where they kind of break it down, and I mean, it kind of sounds like a Soylent Green song for a second, and then immediately shifts out of that into whatever they shifted into. It was probably insane.
And then there's moments in Purity of Purpose, actually, for what you might consider an elongated period of time, where they stick on a really heavy groove. Actually reminded me a lot of Suffocation for a minute.
Yeah, and that riff is catchy. Like, they're not really kind of like trying to do too much like atonal or overly technical in that. It's a straightforward, hooky riff. And that was like a nice break to kind of collect my thoughts after everything that I heard before that. Because not only are these riffs technical, they're very busy. Like, everything is being played lightning fast. You know, even down to the bass work, which the bass work is insanely technical too, if you're able to catch up with it.
And a good example of that is on the song Irradiated Miscreation. There's an actual like bass run. In fact, there's actually a couple moments where the bass and the drums trade off parts. Like, that you get an isolated bass section, you get an isolated drum section. Again, it's done very quickly. We're talking about in the span of like 6 or 7 seconds, but it's on there and it sounds good.
And honestly, like bassline, I find a lot of this pretty catchy. I mean, you know, I've been listening to like technical music for years. You know, and, you know, Defeated Sanity and Cryptopsy and stuff like that. So this is still familiar territory. It's just done at such an accelerated level. And one of the big things on here is the fact that, like, almost all these songs immediately open up into just absolute chaos. Like, there's a couple that kind of, like, you know, ease you in with the sample, at least one. But for the most part, you are off to the races immediately. Like, Haunted Symmetry. That song opens up like someone threw a hornet's nest tied to a brick through your car window.
Fair enough.
Yeah, while you're driving.
You guys remember Beneath the Massacre? It's a lot of riffing like that. Chuggy at times, but for the most part, it's full of noodles and squeals. And again, it was tough to review almost because I wasn't sure what to say because it happens so quickly. By the time you latch on to something, you're like, shit, it's gone. There's chugs. Well, there's squeals. Shit, new song.
Yeah, dude, even if I was like, a musician into music theory, I think I would still struggle to really describe what they're doing. But the thing is, like, it honestly works. Like, it's, for the most part, like, kind of catchy. And, this is like one of those bands where I would listen to / go see the band for kind of completely different reasons.
Correct.
Like, I'm curious if they can pull this off without just exploding on stage, like spontaneously combusting.
Yeah, I would jam it if I wanted something crazy and headbangable. I would go see it just to see it done. Like, and I remember when I started getting into death metal, I was like, well, I want to see that live. I want to see them do that. There's no way they can do that. And then they did. And that's a lot of what death metal, at least seeing it live, is for me. Granted, I like it, but like, I want to see them pull this off.
Yeah.
Just like seeing Gorguts this year, like, I wanted to see them pull it off, and they did. And if you can do this flawlessly, holy shit.
I mean, technically we could have. Maryland Death Fest 2019. I think
know.
they played at the soundstage and we missed them.
We miss a lot of things in MDF. It's impossible.
It's impossible to see every band you want to see.
Yep.
Now, strangely, like, a lot of the things that I like about this could also be seen as negatives, because this is kind of tough to follow. Like, as far as like technical music, I don't think it's quite as like absolutely nutty and kind of difficult to listen to as like, Defeated Sanity or I would say like Artificial Brain. Like, there's definitely more riffs on here. There's more groovy pockets. But again, it's done at such an accelerated pace that it can be kind of hard to catch. But even when they're doing like the more technical runs and like just strange like drum beats and such, there's always like something to kind of keep your head nodding. And that is something that I kind of latched onto, that and the fact that, even in these bonkers riffs, there are some really clever melodies and like clever hooks to them. Like, again, melody might not be the right word, because if you played this for anyone that doesn't listen to like technical death metal or just heavy music in general, they're going to think like, is this the sound of a band falling down 8 flights of stairs? And I would totally get it. Like, this is, not for the uninitiated. You need some like steps to get into this.
Yeah.
But I do hear good, clever hooks and really interesting riffs that are not only just technical, they actually have like something to them that kind of keeps the song going. Like, none of this feels like it goes off the rails. It feels like it is completely on the weird rails that it's on.
Which is crazy because, again, like you said, if you're not seasoned, I guess, into this, you're going to think that this is nonsense. But I've heard bands go off the rails, and this band somehow, in the midst of all this just sheer nuttery, like, you can tell that it's cohesive. You can tell that it's kept together. Like, you can tell that it's all purposeful and well thought out. It's just, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. So my one gripe is also a praise. It doesn't hold on to things typically too long. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some groovy moments. The last track, Biological Absurdity, actually has quite a bit of chug and groove to it, and it holds on to things a little bit longer. It's kind of hard to nail anything down because it doesn't stick around long enough. Every time you kind of get yourself in a groove, you're like, ah, shit, it's over. At the same time, that's also a praise because congrats to you. Like, that's incredibly difficult to do. And to keep it flowing at that pace with that many changes is just nuts. So, I mean, it's kind of a gripe, but it's also, like, kudos to you.
Yeah, I mean, I was supposed that would be kind of my gripe. Like, I would hear one awesome riff, and then I was like, oh, it's already gone.
Yep.
Okay. Because this album moves at an insane, erratic pace. Like, it's not moving fast in a straight line. Like, this thing is moving around like a meth-addicted squirrel or something like that. Like, it's just darting around and then trying to get your wallet and steal, like, I don't know, the copper out of your fucking house.
Going through like a confidence course or something, and you get to the cones part of it. This could have been people at the wedding. They were cones.
Also, to be fair, this is, again, my first listen with this band in terms of like a full album. Like, I might have heard a track in the past, but, I can't think off the top of my head what album it's from or anything like that. So, like, this is like a real fresh opinion of this band. And I don't know if this is like a day at the office for them or this is like, oh my god, this is like the most insane thing they've ever done, or like, yeah, they've done stuff like this before. Like this is, this, come on.
Somebody on the Willow Tip Records YouTube site said they were pregnant after this, which I get. That's fair.
So wear protection when you listen to this, because I'm pretty sure the band's not thrilled about being absentee fathers, because they're going to be on the road a lot.
Go out for cigarettes and then be gone for 3 months. It happens.
So overall, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. Like, again, this was a fresh opinion on the band in terms of like just a new listen, which I think is weird because I started off with an album called Discontinued, and I really hope this isn't their last album, because I think for the most part this is really good. Like, yeah, it is confusing and challenging as hell, but there's something that draws me into it. Like, I wasn't put off by this at all. I was actually kind of like enthralled by how wild and crazy and just insane. Like, the drum performance on here, I mean, Mike Heller, I've heard him do countless awesome drum performances. That's generally why you hire him. And this one, God, I feel like this band needs to take a nap after every song, because that's got to take a lot out of you. The riff work is kind of beyond description. Like, comparatively, From Wisdom to Hate, I think is kind of close. Like, that has that weird gore guts angular stuff, but also Cryptopsy, because Cryptopsy. And this is just a nuts listen. Like, I feel like I've been assaulted, but I'm not going to press charges because I was kind of cool with it.
Right.
Yeah, this is a really wicked album. I think I'm going to have to listen to more Malignancy just so I can get like a real hold on this band, if that's even possible. I need to talk to more of their fans. Like, hey, do you fully understand this band's like, nah, man, it's like getting struck by lightning. Like, every time I listen to it, and then I kind of faint afterwards and then forget that I listened to them. I don't know, but I feel like my brain has been scrambled in a musical blender right now, and I kind of like it. So yeah, if you're a big fan of Cryptopsy, Gore Guts, Defeated Sanity, just the most techie, brutal stuff you can think of that isn't Malignancy, yeah, it's for fans of that. Check it out.
I'm going to go ahead and give this 3 stars. I need to spend more time with this record. I think I need to spend more time with Malignancy, because I don't want to say it was hard to listen to, because it wasn't. It was just such a challenge, like trying to just piece all that together and finding groovy pockets and really understand what the band was doing. And like, I've been listening to technical death metal for a long time, and that's what got me into death metal. That's where I started with death metal, was technical death metal. But like, this is on a whole other level. First of all, props to everybody that played on this record, because you guys kept it together somehow, and I don't understand it. Mike Heller is a hell of a drummer, and much like you said, that's why you hire Mike Heller. If you want an awesome drum performance, you get Mike Heller, because he's capable of literally anything, as seen here. I think it's also best described, even to those of us that do listen to this genre quite a bit, the guitar riffs sometimes sound like if you took your guitar, turned it on, cranked it up, and threw it down 8 flights of stairs. And everything it hit on the way down was a riff, and that's maybe how they were constructed. I don't know. I don't get it, but I dug it at the same time. Like, how in the world did you make this and make it sound still catchy at the same time? There are some catchy riffs in here. There's actually a ton of them if you can listen to them that quick. Maybe I need to get back on medication to figure this out, because my brain simply can't really follow all that. But it did at the same time. I don't know, I'm rambling. That's kind of what this record does. It kind of just takes your brain and runs it through a blender and says, all right, good luck, talk. And you're like, I don't know. You know that scene in Vegas Vacation where Randy Quaid kind of shorts out? He's out in the desert, and he's had a bunch of nuclear things done to his brain, and he just like, And he says, every now and again, I just stop, and then I shit my pants, and I'm not sure what's happening. That's kind of like this.
This album will turn you into Randy Quaid. That's kind of sad now, too.
Yeah, it is, but it works. I don't know. I dug it. If you like Cryptopsy and bands like Benighted and Beneath the Massacre and Origin and Definitely Immolation, The Red Chord, a whole hodgepodge of things, give this a listen. It's definitely not for the weak, but try it out. Try it out. You may uncover way more than we did, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. I'm probably going to listen to more Malignancy because I'm grossly curious if there's more like this. So, yeah.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also on our channel up in the banner in the bottom right-hand corner. But if you're looking for Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have t-shirts, both old and new. The old ones are discounted, provided we have your size. And we even have hats. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
Tons of stuff going on at Thralls of Metal. Of course, album reviews, because that's what we do. Discography rankings. We got Meshuggah coming up next, and that's going to suck to rank. But we're going to do it for you anyway. It's States of Metal. We got Metal. Is it not Metal? We have a whole bunch of metal things, because we are, in fact, Thralls of Metal. But we wouldn't really be too much of anything without you guys, without our subscribers, our family, our friends, everybody that supports us. This thing just keeps getting bigger, and I am baffled by it every time.
That's what she said. Again.
We appreciate all of you guys. Everybody that has given us support. It means the world to us. This has become such a giant part of our lives, and we are grossly thankful for all of you. It's awesome to run into you guys and meet you guys and all that stuff. We just appreciate you, and we say it all the time, but we mean it more and more every time we say it.
Yeah, you guys absolutely rule, and again, tons of content coming your way. So one more big thank you because you guys are awesome, and we will catch you later.